Welcome to another edition of Mike and Scott's BS Session, home of the latest news in the bass fishing industry. So pull up a chair and get ready. This is not your mama's fishing show. Okay, enough of the blah, blah, blah. Here's Mike and Scott.
I love that intro. Welcome, everybody, to another podcast of Mike and Scott's BS Session. Tonight's broadcast has a little bit of a twist to it. I have a guest host with me tonight by the name of Loic Ayotte. Loic, are you there with it, buddy?
Absolutely. I noticed you hesitated a little bit when you said Scott.
Yeah. Tonight Scott's actually, I believe, on his way to New York on business or to do some work or something to that effect. So I thought we'd take the show in another direction tonight and do something we've never done before, and that's tonight is going to have a toothy critter focus, right?
Yeah, well, before we get into it, let me level with me, Mike, here. Did Scott actually kind of push the idea of talking about e-socks on the show so he could have a night off, or what happened there?
Well, no, I don't know. Scott sort of got sidetracked, and I'm not sure about, and, you know, he's working on some other guests for next week, but I think maybe he got a bit scared. He got some cold feet, and we were going to talk about fish with teeth, and he said, okay, well, I'm not going to be around, sort of deal. So, you know, but that's okay. You know, I got no problem with that.
That's all good. I was just taking a stab. But if he's scared to talk about him, I can imagine how scared he must be if a big girl ever came in on a figure eight on him.
Well,
he'd probably drop a couple.
He'd be screaming like a little girl, I think, if that ever happened. There's no doubt. We're gonna talk about. Let's go into some of the tidbits tonight. Loic, pike season is open, buddy, and I was on 2 bodies of water since the opening. I haven't really seen any big fish. I've seen some, good fish, but nothing in the upper, mid to upper double-digit fish. A lot of long, thin fish, but none of the big fish. Have you seen anything around? Have you been on the water?
Wow, you just scared me there. You said you haven't seen anything big in the mid to upper double digits. I haven't even come close to the double digits. I haven't seen a pike opener this tough. I don't know if it's because of my choices of body of water this year. With the high water in some places that we haven't seen in quite some time, and actually quite high in some places that I'm used to fishing. But no, I've been dealing with, I'll call them the length of my forearm and maybe a little bit more, and I've seen some big ones, but they ran away so quickly when they saw me, couldn't get them to go.
Really, eh? I mean, it's funny you say that because I hear a lot of guys that, they haven't got into many big fish this year, and I don't see many big fish. I guess we're better describing big fish pictures. Next week is the Big Pike Challenge on the St. Lawrence River at fishingcanada.net. So I'm hoping that these fish turn on. The biggest fish I got were on the St. Lawrence River at the time, but like I said, nothing extraordinary. But it sounds like you were having an even tougher time than me out there. So, let's hope and pray that things turn on and we start to get some big fish for that tournament next week. I also know.
You should get some good fish. You should get some good fish next week, though. I wouldn't be too worried about that.
We're going to be hopeful. We'll be lighting candles for sure.
I've been looking at I looked at the registration list that you got going, and there's some good anglers coming to the plate. So you should have some good fish caught.
Well, we're hoping. Last year we had some good numbers out of there. We had some good weather also for the day. It was superb weather. So we get a lot of teams signed up, over 20 teams or 25 teams that are coming out to participate in this thing. So we're looking forward to having a good tournament. A little bird told me that somebody spotted a boat, a Prince Craft, with 2 power poles on it on the water. Would that have been you?
You know, you're not allowed to actually mention that brand of a boat on the show. You mentioned it once, but you interchanged a few letters that you shouldn't, and another birdie told us to not mention boat brands anymore.
Okay, fair enough.
But that'd be me. And I gotta say, I've had a smile on my face since the day I walked out of Fishing Tech.
That's what I'm told. It's permanent smile.
You know it. Yeah, I mean, even considering the lackluster pike action on my part, the crappies were pretty good before that. I didn't get to go much, but like someone pointed out to me when they were in the boat when we were fishing. I mean, the first time one of us got bit off when we finally found fish, there was none of that. Okay, hold on. Let me try and retie here while I'm working my electric to keep us off the fish and make sure we don't spook them. None of that anymore. I mean, just as far as convenience sake, I don't want to get into the details of how to catch fish because I'm just starting. I don't know. So far I can tell you this. Just for convenience, hit a button, stop moving. Do what you need to do. Leave the fish alone. When you're up, ready to go again, bring the button back up, set up, do your thing, and fish come back.
Are those poles as fast as people tell me they are?
Well, I don't know what the difference is with all the different levels, and I went for the like I'll call it like the medium range, I guess, the Sportsman Series 2, and I was impressed. I mean, when I hold that button down, it 1 second and I'm locked in.
Wow. That's
pretty, very quick, very very efficient.
Yeah. You got
and it holds. I can tell you. I think the second or third day that I had them on, I was treated to a Big East, and there were occasional 3-footers that were hitting us. I mean, there were more than that in the main channel, but where we were hiding, these poles held like no problem. The boat hardly even moved. Like it wouldn't even pivot. Mind you, I got 2 poles. If I had 1 pole, it would have pivoted, but never moved.
Wow, that's great. I know we were fishing in Scotty's boat, and he has 2 of them, and I witnessed something I had never seen before. And I've been on boats with the other brand of electric anchor, and we put down Scotty's. They went down so fast, the boat was moving forward, the anchors went down, and the boat bounced back like it was on an elastic band. It was just amazing.
It does. I was in Gary's shop at Fishing Tech, and when we were done installing them, he was in the boat, I was outside of the boat, and after we were done pressurizing the hydraulic hoses, he says, "Watch this." He double taps the down button on the power poles, and the poles went right down to the ground and jacked the boat up. Now, if the boat wasn't strapped down to the trailer, that boat was coming off the trailer by an inch at least. Wow.
Well, that's been my sort of theory and why I've gone with power poles. It's hydraulics versus mechanics. And, I mean, that just goes to show you right there the power of these things. And, I'm really excited. I'm on my way up to Fishing Tech probably this weekend to see Gary and get mine put on. And I can't wait to get out there and try them. Gary, how was Gary with the installation? How would you rate that installation and the service you got on?
I've had my not to sidetrack too much, but I've had my share of experiences with some boat dealers over the last couple of years for simple tasks, and I gotta say I've never been happy with anyone I've ever dealt with. I don't know. I thought it was me that was being too picky, perhaps, or my expectations were just too ridiculous. But I felt like every time I went to a dealer, I felt like you had to stay on top of the guys nonstop. You had to double check, like before you signed off and said, "All right, take care of my boat, and I'll see you tomorrow or in 2 weeks." You had to look at the work order and make sure that what they put there was accurate, because it was never accurate. There's always something wrong, something missing, and worst case, and then even when they had it right, you go pick up your boat, it's not done right, or they forgot to do this, or didn't do that, or they skimped on this. I walked into Gary's shop when it was finally my turn to get it done, because let me tell you, Gary is one busy guy at the beginning of the year. So you get your appointment, you get over there, and your stuff is going to be top-notch. But as soon as Gary got in my boat and started opening panels and started looking at just the wiring and spacing and things like that, the amount of stuff he pulled out off the bat saying, okay, we're gonna change this type of wiring, or we're gonna change that type of wiring, we're gonna move this over because of this, and I was like, whoa. It's like, I said, every boat is like this. He says 90% of the boats that come out of the dealer, with very few exceptions, says are like, a lot of them have all skimped inside, things that I didn't even know myself. All the gauging for the electrical, I was shocked to see how small what was there. It was really small. So off the bat, he changed the whole electrical wiring in the boat. Redid a lot of the connections. Instead of having one little tiny gauge supply current to both my sonars, my dash, my lights, you name it. He's like, no, but we're going to change all that. And I've got dedicated power circuits running for my electronics, and then different circuits for the lights. It's like nothing kind of sits through that same little tiny gauging of a wire that was there before. So I on that end alone, I was like, wow. I mean, I don't know how he does on the water as a fisherman, but I guess he does pretty well. I think he's one of the very few, or one of the originals, I think, in Quebec where we've lived, to fish FLW and events like that.
Yeah, Gary's Gary's one of the few guys I know that is very good at understanding his electronics, and is also at the same time a very good fisherman. And to your point, I think that's something that the listeners need to know, is that a lot of guys go and they buy sonars and they buy electronics, they put them in their boat, and they use basically any wire they got hanging around the garage to do their installations. And with today's electronics, the gauge of your wire and the type of wire you use is very important and has a huge impact on the performance of those electronics. And this is where Gary excels. Gary can make sure that you have the proper gauge wiring, the proper hardware that you need on your boat to make sure that when you're paying all this money for these electronics, that they're actually working the way they're supposed to. So you definitely want to get a hold of Gary when it comes to installations, when it comes to your sonar, learning your sonar. Gary gives courses on sonar, and as you can hear from Loic, when Gary goes into your boat and he's going to do an installation, he's not just looking for the quickest way to get that thing into your boat. He's looking at all the other stuff that's in your boat and saying, hey, you know something, you better change this or you're going to have some problems going forward. So hats off to Gary Gasser and Fishing Tech. And if you have anything like that you need, get yourself hooked up.
Yeah, I completely agree. And when you're dealing with types of electronics that Gary specializes in, or I'll call them fishing gadgets such as power poles and all other equivalents, he doesn't. He really doesn't sugarcoat anything. He's straight up. And if something in your boat needs to be adjusted or changed, you kind of have to. This is where fishermen have to be realistic. You don't go out and buy a $3,000 sonar and then try and bargain with the guy over a $100 ram mount.
Correct.
Try to understand these things that kind of all tie in, and a lot of guys don't plan for these things, right? They'll figure, I'm just going to go and buy the unit and spend whatever money for the installation. But then installation comes around, and it's like, okay, well, your type of boat where you want your electric, that dash is made of such and such material. It's not made to hold that kind of weight, especially in a rough chop. It'll eventually rip or tear, or you're going to have problems. You're going to want to reinforce that. And those are things you don't think about going into these things when you're buying these big, heavy gadgets. And it can be a problem. Gary makes you aware of these things, and it's obviously your choice if you want to do them or not. But for the price that Gary will do them, and I was amazed. Before my ram mount went on, he reinforced the dash with aluminum plates underneath it. You can't even tell they're there. He hung onto that thing on that plate himself with his whole weight, and the dash never moved. And before then, trust me, the dash moved.
Yeah, no, he does a great job, and this is why I have absolutely no issues recommending people to go up and get involved with Gary and Fishing Tech. Next week, Loic, we have a big draw that's going on. We're going to be drawing the winner of the Navionics iPhone app. We are over 300 likes on Facebook.
Look at that. Only not how long has it been?
I don't know, but your prediction was dead on.
I didn't I say it? I said by that Friday it's going to hit 300.
Well, it did, and I've been speaking with Rich Lauer over at Navionics, and we're going to try and line up a guest speaker for Navionics for next week's show. So make sure you tune in to next week's show, because we're going to do that draw. And some lucky winner is going to get a free iPhone app, which just came out with an enhancement that you can also add to it that is just sick. So tune in with us next week. We're going to draw that name, that lucky name. And away we go. We'll be cooking with gas. Okay, we're going to move into our first guest here. Before we do that, we're going to do a little bit of bill paying, Loic. And then we're going to come in and you're going to introduce tonight's special guest. We'll be back in just a second.
St. Croix has been handcrafting fishing rods for 65 years. With over 400 rods available in their lineup, you can be assured St. Croix has you covered. Whether you're wrapping your fingers around the newly re-engineered Legend Extreme or the workhorse known as the Legend Tournament Series, St. Croix will make your fishing experience that much better. St. Croix, the best rods on earth.
Here you go, my friend, the best rods on earth. I use them, everybody uses them. Get your hands on some of those St. Croix rods and enjoy your fishing experience. Loic, who do we got on the show tonight?
Tonight, we have one of the musky hunters aboard. He's a contributing writer for Musky Hunter magazine and a frequent guest and I'll say co-host on the Musky Hunter television show. He's done the professional musky tournament trail and a lot of other musky tournaments for several years, and today he guides his clients to what I see and hear is 250 plus muskies a year, which is no small feat. And I would say, Mike Hulbert, how are you, sir?
Mike, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Fantastic. Couldn't be better.
Yeah, we're doing terrific, Mike. We're doing terrific, and we're really honored to have you take the time out of your schedule to be with us tonight.
Hey, that ain't no problem. Anytime I can talk about muskies, I'm game. So it's definitely a pleasure to talk with you guys.
Yeah, well, we've heard that you're a bit obsessive compulsive behavior on these fish is legendary, actually. And
it's pretty bad.
I was talking to a couple of fellas this week who are musky addicts, for a better description, Mike. And they had a couple of questions that they wanted me to ask you, but I threw in one here that especially that was very compelling to me, because I'm not a musky aficionado. I leave that up to my buddy Loic, who's with us tonight. But if there's going to be three things, Mike, that people that want to get into musky fishing, all right, we've heard of the lore, the history, all the fame about musky fishing. If you're going to tell people there's three things that they need to take care of and have in line if they're going to get involved in musky fishing, what would they be?
Well, the first thing is really you got to get in just the mental aspect of what you're doing. If a guy is getting into musky fishing for the first time and he's used to being a smallmouth guy or being a walleye guy or a largemouth guy, you got to get that type of fishing out of your head right away, because days like that in musky fishing are very, very few and far between. You're not out there looking to catch as many as you would out there walleye fishing or bass fishing. So, you kind of got to get the whole perceived notion that you're out there to catch a bunch of fish out of your head right away, or else you're going to be a very unhappy musky fisherman.
Well,
I can vouch for that.
They're called the fish with 10,000 casts for a reason, and that's kind of an old adage, and one of my slogans is, fish of 10,000 casts, do you want to bet, because it should not take you 10,000 casts to catch that fish, but it does take some time and patience. So, I think, someone getting into musky fishing has to learn how to be patient. And with my type of personality, it took me a long time to learn patience, because I'm a little ADHD and a little compulsive with stuff. So it took me a long time to really understand these fish. Another real important thing that guys getting into the sport need to really understand is you really do need to have the proper equipment. going out musky fishing and just saying you're going to try it and using your heaviest bass gear or, some sort of light pike tackle or something, that's just not going to cut it. And the equipment can't hold up to the baits, the size of the baits and the pounding that it takes. And also just the line isn't heavy enough and the leaders aren't good enough. And, to protect the fish that we're all trying to catch and preserve, new people really need to understand that you can't bring a knife to a gunfight.
I agree completely on that one. That being said, talking about gear and whatnot, what would you say the biggest mistake a musky angler can do on the water?
One of the biggest mistakes that I see a lot with my clients, I'm pretty lucky. I get to fish about 250 days a year, and one of the biggest mistakes I see with just the average musky guy is they want to change baits too often. They throw a bait for 10, 15 minutes, no action. They want to take it off and try something else. And there's no magic bullet in musky fishing. There's not that one bait that's going to get it all done today. And I think people are way too quick to change up baits and to try 15, 20, 25 even baits in a day, where my daily routine of guiding, I put 2 baits on my front deck, and I say, here's your 2 baits, have fun. That's all you get.
Wow. Are you serious, Mike? 2 baits?
Yeah. But again, I'm lucky. I get to fish every day, so I know what they ate yesterday. I know what they ate the day before. I know what they're going to eat today with different weather conditions. There's many times that I'll throw the same bait for 4 days in a row and never change it once.
Wow. That's pretty crazy.
If conditions change, if conditions change where it goes from, flat, calm, and hot, and all of a sudden you got some chop on the water and it's cloudy, I'll change baits then, but if everything's all in good in the world and everything's consistent, I'm not changing baits much more than one time a day. Really?
Wow. That's pretty impressive. I'm looking at that from a bass fisherman's perspective. We typically will go through about 500 different types of baits till we find the right one in a day.
Yeah, I know how you bass fishermen are. I've talked to you guys before. You guys really, really get into changing baits and colors and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. We're pretty anal when it comes to that.
Yeah,
so, I think there's nothing more moody than a big female muskie. When she wants to go, she goes.
Yeah, one of the reasons why I'm kind of like that, is last year in 2012 I put 578 muskies in my boat with 48 of them over 50 inches, and I look over at all the fish that I caught through the season and what baits I caught it on and time of year and different moon phases and light conditions and wind I can really narrow down about 500 of the 578 of them on about 3 or 4 different baits. So
really,
yeah. So it's pretty hard to want to change all the time when I'm just going off my success rate.
That's the key advantage for you guys.
Yeah.
It's a big advantage, especially for you, for you, Mike. To stay successful and to keep on top of these fish, it's time on the water. I find more than any species, muskies, you need it. Because if you're not on,
absolutely.
They decide to switch on you, and you come back with that same routine you had a few weeks ago. Oh boy. Yep, absolutely. Time on the water is definitely the biggest, the biggest educator in this sport. Hiring a good guide is an excellent idea, an excellent choice to do, and fishing with different people in different lakes is always good, but, what's going to teach you on how to catch fish is really time on the water and learning how these stupid creatures react to certain conditions and certain baits, and, it's just, they're such a finicky, stupid fish, and they want to make me, bash my head against the brick wall sometimes, and 20 minutes later I'm high-fiving and screaming and yelling, and it's the greatest day of the month. So you go from the lowest of lows to the highest of highs in 2 casts,
Yeah, it sounds a lot like a lot of types of fishing, actually. You've been doing this for a long time, Mike. All right, you didn't start musky fishing yesterday. You've been part of the musky hunter show. You've been writing articles. You've you're catching a phenomenal amount of fish for a long time, and that's because of the fact you've spent so much time on the water. You've made personal appearances. You do speaker appearances. I got to ask a guy who's seen everything that's gone on in the industry for quite a long time. What do you see has been the biggest innovation in the last 10 years in the musky fishing community?
In my opinion, two things really is just the advancement in equipment as far as like 9-foot rods and big bait casters that can handle the type of fishing that I do. I mean, I'm a pretty powerful fisherman. When I'm ripping big pounders or big medusas or burning dats and blade baits at Mach 7 mile an hour, and you need the equipment to handle that type of fishing. I don't fish slow. I don't fish gingerly. I don't fish easily. My body is wore out and sore every day by the way that I'm fishing. And I think one of the biggest innovations in this sport is the fact that these companies have seen this and have really took the lead there and really made equipment for people like myself to fish the way that I want to without blowing through rods and reels and line and all that, a couple times a week, because
right.
You gotta have the right equipment for the way I fish. You can't do it with the wrong equipment.
Right.
And then another big innovation. The other thing is I think is in the bait world, just the use of soft plastics. Big baits like the pounder and rubber baits like the Medusa and Red October tubes. I throw big soft plastic rubber baits every day of the year, March through December. And I remember when the Bulldog first came out in 1993, people looked at it and laughed and said, who's going to throw this, and what fish is going to eat something that looks like this? This is the most stupid thing I've ever seen. And now you talk to any of the top musky guides, around North America, and all of them are going to tell you that if you don't have a good box of rubber in your boat, then you're just missing the boat. So I think that the innovations with the soft plastics in this industry is huge.
So soft plastics and equipment are basically the biggest changes you've seen over the last 10 to 15 years.
I have, absolutely, yes.
Very well.
10 years ago, even a 9-foot rod was never even heard of or even thought of, and I still get clients in my boat that they're still a little old school in their ways, and they're throwing 7-foot rods or 7-6 rods, and once I get them a 9-footer in their hand and they start casting, and the ease of casting and the ease of figure eighting and the ease of throwing the baits and working these big baits, once they learn and get past the intimidation factor, it's unbelievable. They try to pick up their 7-foot rod and they can't use it anymore because I just ruined them, because now they love this big, long 9-footer for casting and figure eighting and the ease of throwing baits and all that. So, that innovation of the better technology, better rods, better reels it's huge.
I heard stories back before like you said, before the 9-foot rods were really available, or even the 8 or 8.5s, when guys were still using 7-foot rods when the big pounders came along. I heard stories of guys logging these pounders up in the air as hard as they could, backlash mid-cast, and have the rod rip right out of their hands.
Oh, I have seen that. Yeah, I have seen that many times in my boat, and it's not a good situation when that happens.
Rods can float all they want, but when they have a pound of rubber attached to the other end, they don't float for long.
No, and that a lot of that happens. That's like hour number 8 into the day, and their hands are fatigued. My body's used to it, ripping pounders and stuff, and but my guys that I fish with, they might be an office job sitting behind a computer every day of their life, and then they go musky fishing with me, and I absolutely murder them and kill them with the way that I want them to fish. And 8 hours into it, their arms are numb and ready to fall off and tingle in, and they get a backlash, and they're holding on to the rod with whatever might they have left. And oh yeah, I've seen that. I've seen many rods go flying in the lake.
Well, I can relate to that. I can tell you now.
Yeah, I'm just glancing at the clock here. I don't want to make sure we don't run out of time because I want to cover another little aspect of musky fishing that we haven't touched yet. And you know, you're one of the few guys I've spoken to that's ever done this. You fished the PMTT, the Professional Muskie Trail.
Yep.
Educate us. Share a little bit of your experience with that. How does this tournament work?
All right, so the PMTT is a really cool thing, and you know, I used to fish it and I love doing it just because I was so competitive, and but now I'm just with my travels of always being on the road and different states all the time, and my winter schedule. I just kind of said I'm kind of burnt out on the traveling all the time, but the way those tournaments are ran is actually a really good style, and there's judge boats out on the water. So the PMTT hires local people that have boats, and they go out and they sit on the water, and they got their marine radios. And say I'm team number 42 out of 100, and I catch a fish. I get on the radio, and I call for a judge boat, and I tell them, hey, this is Mike Hulbert. I'm team number 42. You'll see me in my big silver white Tuffy. I'm over blah, blah, blah. Tell them where I'm at, and a judge boat will come over while I got the fish in my net, and the judge boat comes over. You lay it on a bump board. You take a digital picture with it on the bump board and holding it up with your PMTT. They give you a little paddle, so it kind of signifies and shows that you caught it that day. And the judge records it, and you let it go. And so, you know, the fish is not harmed. You don't put it in a live well. You don't run it into shore. You know, it's everything's awesome, and the fish is really taken care of. So it's a pretty cool event.
Very cool. Yeah. Okay. So none of the fish are brought back. None of the fish are harmed. Everything's released on the spot as soon as the judge comes over. Yep.
And you know, another thing that you have to do as an angler, you're a participant of the PMTT, you have to stick around where you release that fish. It's either for 5 or 10 minutes after you release it, just to make sure you get a successful release. You can't leave. So they really, really do a good job to protect the fish.
Wow, that's very impressive.
Yeah,
I always wondered, like, how would you, because you talk about using cradles and everything with muskie, right? And the fact that especially when, and Loic and I have talked about this, Mike, when you're fishing them in hot, like really warm water or really cool water, how, you know, in certain conditions the fish are exhausted very quickly. How would they run a tournament? And you've just opened my eyes to a whole new ballgame.
Yeah, it is. You know, it's the way they put it on. You know, they're there to protect the fishery. You know, one thing that the PMTT cannot do is have bad PR and bad press by letting people, you know, mishandle fish and killing fish. And a day after the tournament leaves town, there's, you know, 20 floating muskies out in the lake. You know, I mean, that would just be devastating for the sport in itself. So the PMTT does a really good job to make sure that all these fish are successfully released.
Well, yeah. that's not a small
terrific,
especially the summer months can be brutal when that water hits that 80-degree mark. Just by experience, pulling a fish out of the water here at 80 degrees is pretty devastating.
Yeah, it is. It is. So, you know, keeping them in the net the whole time and all that, and just picking them up just to measure them and letting them go right away. You know, that's really the best policy and best way to treat those fish.
Wow. Well, Mike, looking at the clock, and it's Friday night, and I have a feeling you spent most of your day on the water and the week, and I'm pretty sure you're not sunburnt at all. I want to thank you for coming on the show, and if you have any sponsors you'd like to highlight.
Yeah, you know, I just really appreciate you guys having me on and talking muskies. Hopefully we can do it again. Yeah, I spent all week on the water. Got to be back up at 4:30 in the morning and hit it again hard tomorrow. But you know, a lot of my sponsors that really take care of me and make sure I can follow my dreams, you know, are people like Tuffy Boats and Mercury Marine, Musky Innovations and Chaos Tackle and Dats and Blade Baits, Cortland Line, Shimano Reels. You know, these are all quality products that if I didn't truly believe in them, I wouldn't be using them. You know, I fish 250 days a year, and I just totally abuse my equipment every day, and I got to have the best quality stuff that's on the market, and I'm a firm believer that they make the best, and if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be out here every day. So definitely a big shout-out to all the people that support me.
Mike, I want to thank you again. I could sit here and talk about muskies all night long. Unfortunately, we both have schedules to keep. And I have the producer in the back telling me go because we got guys on hold. Mike, thanks
no
again.
No problem, buddy.
All right, hopefully we'll be in touch.
Hey, thank you guys. Have a good weekend.
All right, you too, Mike.
Good luck this year.
What a great guy, eh, Loic?
That was great.
That was. I mean, how many fish did he say he caught?
500 something. Well, I mean, when I hear a number like that, I'm like, oh my God. But then, I mean, I'm trying to compare apples to apples. By no means would I ever put myself in that league or class of musky fishermen. There's no way. But even when I think about most guys that I've met in my life, I'm like, there's like he catches that in 2 months of fishing. I'm like, oh no, wait. Indiana, I think, has a little bit of a longer season, but nonetheless, 500 fish. How many days in the year, Mike?
Yeah, it's like he said he fished like 250 days a year.
That is some crazy numbers.
That's insane numbers. I mean, the guy's a phenomenon, and he's to me, he's in the same league as another local guy that we both know that is a musky fisherman of legendary size.
Yeah, I would think so.
No doubt.
Yeah, I would think so, and I'm happy we had him on.
Yeah, I think we're going to have him on again, maybe later on in the season after the season opens. Start to get some feedback from him with regard to how the fish are behaving and that kind of in those conditions when the season opens, and then maybe bring him on later on the season also to see how the fish behavior change as the season, moves forward and the water temperatures change, and obviously, as you know, as a musky fisherman, they position themselves differently as the forage moves and the weeds develop and everything else, so the fish behavior changes, and start to talk to us about that. So that was a great interview, and he seems like a really great guy.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I agree.
For sure. We're gonna go to a commercial break before we bring on our next caller. I don't see him on the line yet, though, but we're gonna go to a commercial break, and then we're gonna bring on another guy that a lot of people, I'm sure, would like to hear from, because this is a tough time of the year for a lot of anglers. We'll be right back.
Evinrude outboard motors with E-Tech technology are designed to keep you on the water doing what you enjoy and not sitting in the shop. 3 years or 300 hours before you need to service your Evinrude E-Tech power plant. 2-stroke power combined with the economy of a 4-stroke. For those dedicated to water, power, fishing, and fun. Evinrude, official motors sponsor of Mike and Scott's BS Session.
Here you go. That's our boys from Evinrude. That was, chiming in that I just loaded a brand new 250 HO E-Tech onto my bullet, and I had it out last week before taking it up to Fishing Tech to get some work done on some accessories, and I got to the ramp, and I was launching at the ramp, and there was a couple other boats putting in, and they weren't Evinrude's, and we left this launch, and I was leaving, and one of these guys was just like sort of putting along and whatnot, and I was like, you coming? And he said, no, I have to run my boat for 1 hour or something at 2,500 RPMs, and he had a break-in schedule he had to follow. Well, I didn't have any break-in schedule. I had none. I just tromped the pedal, and away I went. And my Evinrude didn't slow me down at all. I have no instruction book I got to follow, and I am so used to that now. And you guys got to get into E-Tech technology. You got to get into Evinrude. You got to get into find out just what you're saving and what you're missing. You're looking at zero maintenance for the first 3 years. You're looking at.
So what you're saying is it's a shotgun that you don't need to maintain.
Yeah, that's basically it. Like it's 300 hours the first 3 years. You know, your winterizing takes 5 minutes. You don't have to go to the dealer. There's no oil changes. I mean, it's just maintenance free. You're on the water for the first 3 years, and then after 3 years, to be quite honest, you go back in. They change the oil on the foot, and they change your spark plugs, and you're back on the water again. It's just really, really simple. It's amazing.
That is amazing. I'm sure if Scotty were here, he'd be agreeing with you and sharing and swapping stories. Unfortunately, I don't have the privilege of running an E-Tech yet, but they sure sound pretty damn cool. I got a buddy who just got a pair of them, a kicker as well. So he can't believe it, the performance his boat has now.
Yeah, they run sweet, and you know I deal with Claude Castonguay at Maple Grove Marine and Beauhard Warner locally. He's the local Evinrude dealer for me, and I can tell you right now that you know the thing about Claude is I usually call him to say hi and see what's going on, because otherwise I don't see Claude. I don't have to go to the dealer. I don't have to get any maintenance done. I just call to see what's happening and see how he's doing. Every now and then, if I'm in the area, I'll stop by and say hi. But Claude's sort of like I call Claude the Maytag guy. You know, he's sitting there waiting for the fall to rain, but the product that they built is so good. So he doesn't get much work as far as the first 3 years after he sells the motor. So, but you know, after those 3 years, if there's a guy you want to buy your motor from, there's a guy you want your motor serviced by, even if it's not an E-Tech, even if it's an older Evinrude, you need some service done, go see Claude Castonguay at Maple Grove Marine. This is the guy you want to deal with. Top-notch service, top-notch people that work there, and you'll be very, very happy with the stuff that you get, for sure. For sure.
And I can vouch, guys, when you look for someone to service your boat or your motor, the good guys are few and far between these days.
Yeah, you got that right. They're hard to find. They're definitely hard to find. When you find one, I mean, grab on to them and don't let them go. On the note there's nothing more frustrating. Like, let's face the facts. For 99% of us, these things are luxury toys to satisfy our hobbies. It is not a means or a tools for a business, right? So when you buy a toy and something's wrong or you want something done, you got to drive halfway across the city or then some to only be frustrated when you go and pick it up. Who wants that? I mean, nobody. If you buy a Mercedes and you go to a Mercedes dealer, I've rarely heard of anyone walking out of there saying, "Oh, they forgot to put the oil cap back on the engine after they changed," or like stupid things like that. It doesn't happen, and it shouldn't happen, especially with something that's like for luxuries, for our hobbies. Like, we don't need these things to live, yet we choose to make these companies make money and to satisfy our hobbies. Nothing more frustrating than having some frustrated, I'll say, kid in a shop that just thinks this is my 9 to 5. I can't wait to get out of here, and you happen to be the last boat of the day. That's no fun. Yeah, and if we lived in Florida where you can fish 12 months of the year, if you're off the water for a couple of weeks and you get your boat fixed, you're not concerned, because there's the whole season's in front of you. The whole year you can fish. But where we live, you don't have that time. We get 90 days, 120 days. It's that simple. That's our season. And if you're off the water for 3 weeks, that's a big deal. So when you find yourself a dealer that takes you in, gets your work done, decent pricing, and gets you back on the water, or you have you have yourself service to be done, and he keeps you out there, or you own a product that you don't have to go to the shop, i.e. tune-ups, winterizing, and all that stuff, you've got yourself the ideal situation. So that's where you want to put yourself. You want to be staying on the water. So myself and Loic, I know we start fishing when the season opens, and we're going way into September, October, and sometimes December if the weather permits it. So you're running in cold water. I can winterize my boat one day and take it out the next day, and then re-winterize it when I come off the ramp that same day. That's how easy it is to maintain an E-Tech. So if you want to stay on the water, you want to make it cost effective, you don't want to stay in the shop, right, getting your tune-ups and whatnot, get yourself into an E-Tech and get yourself into a good dealer. And I can tell you now, Claude Castalgay, you have a great, good dealer, good product. So that's the way you want to go. Our next guest that was scheduled tonight is a fellow that's running a company that a lot of tournament anglers, but I don't have him on the switchboard yet. I don't see him. He hasn't called in yet. I guess he's tied up so far. But if he doesn't come in tonight, that's fine. We'll just reschedule him. But I wanted everybody to know. I know this is a tough time of the year for most tournament anglers. You have to go through what is a very painful, typically painful and costly process, and that is ordering your tournament jersey. All right, each season you got to go through this process because obviously your sponsor makes changes, right? So
yeah.
You're gonna call in, you're gonna order a new jersey, you're gonna start to design the jersey. Where do the different logos go? Who has the biggest logo? Who has the smallest logo? You got to go do all that calculating. Put the jersey together on a layout. So you take all your logos. You got to hope that whoever you're buying your jersey from has all the logos you need. If not, you have to go get a high-res logo, and then you have to start to design the jersey and get it ordered, and then get it shipped. And hopefully you're not going to get tagged with a ton of duty and taxes and everything else when it gets there. It's a very painful exercise that guys have to go through every year. I
hear you say all these things, and I can think of a bunch of guys I know that fish and would hear a story like that and say, what do you mean? It's a jersey. It's just a bunch of logos. Really? Oh yeah. Well, honestly, it's like that part of your job that you do every day that is so tedious and annoying, but you got to get it done. That's how I see it. It's like I got to get it done. I can't wait to get my jersey, but oh crap, I got a new type of logo that needs to go in, and the supplier doesn't have the logo. So you start shipping logos back and forth, and if you can't use a computer, oh boy.
Yeah, you're gonna be challenged. That's a good point. And like you said, Loic, we all know guys that each year it's like it's that visit to the dentist to get the fillings and the root canals and everything else. You've got to go and you got to get it done, and it's not an easy process. Well, the guy that was scheduled to come on tonight, the two guys that are actually scheduled to come on tonight, Sheldon Hatch and Ben Wu of Voodoo Customs, run a company that do make jerseys, and we were going to have them on tonight to talk about the process of ordering a jersey from them, which I can tell you personally I have done it, and it's very easy. It's very simple. It's not difficult, and you get your jersey back. There's not a whole bunch of taxes and shipping, tons of costs that you get, a surprise cost that you're not able to plan for, and the jersey itself is top quality tournament jerseys. That I can tell you. I have several of them here. When I say several, I'm talking in the double digits that I've bought and ordered from Voodoo Customs. And I can tell you now that they breathe very well. The sizing is very well done, very well laid out. The ease of the design is I'll put it to you this way, I can do it with no problem. And I'm not a genius at doing this stuff, but I did it.
I'll stay quiet on that one. Like I won't say anything.
Yeah, you button your lip there, buddy.
I'm biting my lip. No, but seriously, I think the boys at Voodoo Customs must be doing something right, because they haven't Voodoo Customs hasn't been around for like decades. And this year I was walking around the boat show, and almost every sponsored jersey that I saw was the Voodoo Customs. I was like, hey, look at this. There, a bunch of guys have them, like from one dealer to the next. I was impressed.
Yeah, they've not been around for a long time, but they've grown at a very incredible rate. And I know tonight when I was speaking with Ben this week, I think he's gone off. I think he's out of the province, actually, and he's going to call in from wherever he was. Maybe he doesn't have reception. He was off fishing somewhere. But I know that they were prepared to make a big announcement that Voodoo Customs was actually going to drive some significant, and I'm not going to use the letters, some significant walleye tour moving forward. And I would assume that association came through Sheldon Hatch, who is an exceptional walleye fisherman and guide in Ontario. So unfortunately, I guess we don't have a connection tonight with Ben and Sheldon, and I don't see the call coming in here yet, but or so far. So we'll probably try to reschedule for another night. But just to let people know that look up Voodoo Customs, get in there and order your jersey, and make the job on yourself much easier. It's not painful with Voodoo Customs. That's all I have to say to you. And Sheldon Hatch, who I've known for quite a few years now, is a great designer, does a great job, and they'll make a jersey that will make you proud to wear, and that's the key. It makes your sponsors look good. It makes you look good. So you want to get with a company that it's not a cookie cutter jersey company. These guys are open to all types of creativity due to Sheldon, and they'll make sure that you're looking good on the water, that's for sure, and you're representing your sponsors properly.
It's a great thing about the industry, Mike, to see all these guys that have talents outside of fishing, but because they're also fishermen and decided to make the fishing industry and fishing world benefit from their talents, I think is great for all anglers. I mean, in the past, guys would have to go to, jersey makers, and I've done it myself in the past, went to jersey makers that don't deal with fishermen, and oh boy, the shirts that came out of there were just like, you can't wear those on a hot day in summer, pal. I'm like, you can't use this. So you said that the material was a breathing material. I'm like, it's not. They're like that. I mean, same thing we were talking about Gary at Fishing Tech. I mean, they take their personal experiences that they've had in fishing in the competitive fishing world with their sponsors, and then they apply their talents to make a business run, and that, I think, is usually a winning combination. Yeah,
no, for sure. These, I go back to the day, I'm going to date myself here. I go back to the day, and Gary can relate to this if he's listening, where sponsors didn't send you electronic files. They sent you patches, and you sewed the patch onto your shirt. And the shirt was typically, just a gray shirt, short sleeve shirt, and you had these patches sewn on all over the place. And God forbid if you walked, and half the patches were hanging off.
Did you sew on your patches while you were wearing your shirt?
Yeah, I was pretty hardcore.
The shirt never moved. You just ripped it off at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Mike, I'm looking at the clock, and the clock is a ticking.
I hear you. We're gonna get moving on here. Before we do, we're gonna go to a commercial break, and we're gonna be right back with some upcoming events. We'll see you back here in a few seconds.
I got my power pole down.
At Power Pole, we know that sport fishing requires the ability to stop your boat and work an area quickly and quietly. Nothing stops your boat faster, safer, or quieter than Power Pole anchors. Our hydraulic technology delivers superior anchoring. The unbelievably fast action means you can stop as soon as you see a fish and hook one without any concern for stress on your transom, even in heavy wind and current. The only stress you'll feel will be on the other end of your line. Power Pole, rugged flexibility that will change the way you fish.
Well, it changed the way Loic fishes, that's for sure.
I certainly hope it will. It will. It absolutely will. You're going to look at situations probably very differently. I mean, I've only been faced with a few situations, and already they're quite different. So, upcoming events.
What's going on? What's coming up here, Loic?
The schedule is about to get busy. We are looking at May 19th, the Big Pike Challenge on the St. Lawrence River, launching out of the 36th Avenue and Pointe-aux-Trembles. And all the information is located on fishingcanada.net. Remember, boys, to participate and be part of this tournament, you have to be a member on fishingcanada.net. So guess what? It only costs $450 for the year. Oh, no, sorry, it's free. So register on fishingcanada.net, it's free, and then go over to the Ripple section. You can register for the Big Pike Challenge. There's still some time, It's on the 19th.
Sometimes you can be such a goofball.
You have no idea. I hold back every minute of every day. And like we said before, next week we're going to finally draw the winner of the Navionics iPhone app. Now, tell me something. How many times do you actually look at your Navionics iPhone app on a daily basis?
I look at it every day.
I look at it every day.
I'm addicted to this app. And now, hold on. Let me open mine up again. I'm going to open it up as we speak here. Let me look. Navionics. Now, here's the kicker. They have available on here. I'm just initializing this. I agree. You have to also say you agree. They have a feature that you can put notes and whatnot into it and upgrade it. It's a phenomenal. I'm looking at my GPS screen on my boat on my iPhone. It is just sick. You've got to get one of these. Let me tell you, you've got to get one. And next week, we are drawing, and we will continue to draw as the season goes through, free application, iPhone apps on various contests that Loic is going to configure and put together in, this is crazy. You can track on this. You can put waypoints on this. You can ask for distances on this, all on your telephone. I mean, this is just insane. I love this app. I look at it every day. I'm sitting in my office. I'm looking, where am I? And it shows me where I am. It's crazy. If I have a fishing trip or a fishing day coming up, because I'm going to exclude all the unexpected ones that I just had out last minute. If I know I'm going out the next day or next week, or doesn't matter, and I'm thinking of what am I going to do? Always building a little game plan in my head as to what I would foresee doing depending on temperatures and whatnot. And then I'm like, you know what? I think there's some kind of structure there, or there's a break here, or something happens there, or it's just, I'm like, you know what? Pop open the Navionics app, and I hate to say it, I've done it once in a meeting. Yeah, I know. It's nuts. It's stupid. So, I mean, get yourself into this app. You can mark a waypoint, take a picture of the fish that you caught at the waypoint, and tag that fish to that waypoint. It's that customizable. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's really crazy. Like you've got to get yourself a copy of this stuff. And next week we're going to give away a free copy.
The first one.
Yeah, no doubt. We're going to have a lot of fun. This week's shout-outs, Loic. We're looking at Jean-Marc Desrosiers, my buddy and honorable St. Croix pro staffer. He comes by my place often. Great guy, St. Croix True Blue fisherman, great fisherman, and a great ambassador for St. Croix products. It's always great to see Jean-Marc come by the garage. He comes by often. And the guy has St. Croix tattooed on his heart. He's my kind of guy. So shout out to Jean-Marc. All my friends and members of Team Evinrude. Jill Johnson, magic pickpocket. I don't know how she did it today, but she found things that I guess people will only find out on Monday what Jill Johnson has done. Cynthia Bichette and Pierre Roulette from the Evinrude family. We love you all. Steve, the boss man, Bob, even boss from Bass Cat Boats. And Rachel Chouinard of Navionics will be speaking, and Rich Lauer. Scott over at Zico Shoes. Get your Zicos on. I wore these shoes last week, Loic. They are insane. What a great design that they got going at Zico. And Gary over at Fishing Tech will be seeing you hopefully this weekend, Gary. And say hi to Patty for me. Yep, good old Gary.
Don't forget, we got Claude Castonguay, Benoit Blais, Derek Lemieux of Maple Grove Marine. Like you said, these guys know how to take care of your boat. And we got K-Way Outdoor Wear. Get protected from the elements while not taking up a lot of space in your boat. Sims Baits. What are they? The Baits of Glory.
The Baits of Glory.
Yeah, Sims. We got Navionics. Make sure you get back on both land and the water. Especially in a fog.
Yeah, you got that.
You ever get caught in the water and a fog midday comes up? That's very, very, very rare. But like it's you're in the morning and you think it'll clear up and it doesn't, and it's like it's 10 o'clock. Why is this fog?
Yeah, and you can hear the boat coming. Like, where's the boat
Yeah,
coming
you're like,
from?
I think it's there. Yeah, I think it's coming over there, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. And the motor, you can hear it. Let's like turning at 6,000 RPM. What? And it's coming right at you.
And power pole. Nothing holds your boat stronger than a power pole anchor. Swift, silent, and secure. And
Yep.
Mustang Survival. These guys don't mess around. They save lives for a living. MustangSurvival.com.
Yeah, you got it. You had your Loic Ayotte Signature Series Mustang life jacket on last week.
Which life jacket is that? And that is the HIT PFD. Man, are those comfortable.
They are, right? You don't even know you get them on.
Those are fantastic.
Unbelievable. If they can float Loic, they can float anything. But
you got it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I float as long as I can hold my breath. I have big lungs.
There you go. If you're looking for this podcast, you're going to be looking on iTunes in the podcast section, blogtalkradio.com for your laptop or desktop, www.fishingcanada.net, and the WRVO radio network located at www.RenoViolaOutdoors.com with our good friend and Canadian Fishing Hall of Famer, Reno Viola. Also on Spreaker.com, look for the Fishing Canada radio, and they also have a mobile app if you're looking for it. Loic, it was great having you on the show today. It was great looking into a different world, the world of the Tootsie Critter, the mystique of the muskie. It was a lot of fun tonight, and I had a lot of fun working with you on the show tonight.
Yeah, I had a blast. Maybe we'll do it again sometime.
Yeah, maybe we will do it again sometime. And Mike said he was interested in coming back, and I know for a fact we're working on another muskie legend who may show his face and reveal some secrets on a show coming up very shortly. So thanks for everybody for being with us tonight. We hope you're getting out on the water. The season's open here in Canada and in Montreal, and I really do hope everybody's getting out there, starting to bend some rods after a long winter. Loic, thank you very much for being with us tonight. And boys, I think this is time to punch a card. This one's a wrap. Have a good one, Loic, and bend a rod this weekend.
Likewise, thanks for having me on. Enjoy, guys.
Ciao.
This one's a wrap. We hope you enjoyed the show. You can subscribe on iTunes, the WRVO Network, Spreaker.com, www.blogtalkradio.com, and www.fishin-canada.net. See you next time for another BS session. Next time for another BS session. Next time for another BS session. Next time for another BS session.